Some say that even speaking of these rituals stirs the spirits themselves. The elders warn, approach with respect and never watch with a mocking heart. What you are about to hear is not for imitation. It is shared for knowledge and for remembrance. For centuries, certain African rituals were hidden from outsiders, performed deep in forests where the air was thick with incense and the moon lit only the edges of the gathering. In sacred groves where every rustle of leaves might be a spirit passing. Under the watchful eyes of the initiated, who knew that not all knowledge should be given freely. The sound of drums rolled through the night like distant thunder. Torches cast long, flickering shadows over carved masks and painted faces. Chants rose in languages older than kingdoms, while movements flowed with the precision of steps choreographed by the ancestors themselves. Colonial powers tried to outlaw them. Missionaries tried to erase them. Cameras were kept far away. Even now, many of these ceremonies remain unseen except by those born into their guardianship. But tonight, we open the curtain, only a little. These are living technologies. Rituals that call the rain, protect the community, summon the ancestors, and open the gates between worlds. They carry beauty and danger in equal measure. In the next moments, you will journey through 7 of the most powerful African rituals, some whispered about in secrecy, others almost completely unknown. From the masked ancestors of the Egungun to the spinning spirit guardians of the Zangbeto, from rainmakers who command storms to trance mediums who channel voices from beyond. By the end, you must decide, which of these would you dare to witness if you were allowed? The Egungun masquerade is not just a dance or a display of color. It is the embodiment of the ancestors themselves. In Yoruba cosmology, death does not sever the bond between the living and the departed. Instead, the ancestors remain active participants in the lives of their descendants, offering blessings, protection, and when necessary, warnings. The Egungun is the physical manifestation of this connection. A moment when the barrier between the two worlds grows thin and the dead walk among the living once more. When the Egungun appear, the atmosphere shifts. Drums, bata, and gangan strike rhythms that seem to reach into the earth itself, calling forth the spirits. From a distance, a figure emerges, shrouded in layers of brilliantly patterned cloth that swirl with every movement. The colors are vibrant: reds, yellows, blues, each strip of fabric a piece of spiritual armor stitched with meaning. Over the face is a mask, sometimes wooden, sometimes cloth, always concealing any sign of the human beneath. The Egungun doesn't walk like a man. It glides, it spins, it charges, it pauses, as if moving to music that only it can fully hear. Cobbles attached to the costume jingle in sharp punctuating notes, each one signaling the spirit's presence to the crowd. For the Yoruba, this is not a man in a costume. It is an ancestor returned. People kneel, clap, and reach out for the Egungun's blessing, believing its touch can bring health, fertility, or resolution to personal troubles. Yet the approach must be respectful. The Egungun can chastise as well as bless. Those who have wronged the community may find themselves publicly warned, sometimes through symbolic gestures, sometimes through direct coded speech delivered by the spirit. The preparation for an Egungun performance is as sacred as the event itself. Only initiated men, members of the Egungun society, are allowed to prepare the costume and mask. Women and uninitiated men are forbidden from seeing the Egungun unmasked. To do so would strip away the mystery and is believed to bring spiritual danger. Even the transformation from man to spirit is hidden from public view. taking place in secluded areas where songs and prayers weave the human body into its ancestral vessel. Historically, the Egungun served as more than a spiritual figure. It was also a form of social regulation. Through song, gesture, and symbolic movement, the Egungun could critique leaders, address community issues, or reinforce moral conduct. In this way, it was not only a link to the divine but a protector of cultural integrity. During colonial times, the Egungun society became a target for suppression, seen as a threat to colonial authority and missionary influence. Yet the tradition endured, often going underground, preserved in secrecy until it could re-emerge. Today, the Egungun still walks in Yoruba towns and in parts of Benin. In some places, it appears during annual festivals. Its movements accompanied by the same ancient drum patterns that have summoned the spirits for centuries. In the diaspora, Yoruba descended communities in places like Brazil, Cuba, and Trinidad have adapted the Egungun tradition, weaving it into local spiritual practices while preserving its core essence. Yet even now, much remains hidden. While public performances may be filmed, the deepest rites, the private invocations, the sacred preparations, the intimate exchanges between spirit and society remain off camera. To witness the Egungun is to stand at the edge of two worlds, watching as the invisible takes on visible form. It is a reminder that in Yoruba thought, the past is not gone. It is alive, walking beside you, speaking through masks, and dancing in cloth that catches both the wind and the whispers of the dead. This is why the Egungun is both mesmerizing and unsettling. You are looking at more than a performer. You are looking at someone who has crossed over and returned. In the coastal regions of Benin and Togo, when the night deepens and the streets grow quiet, there are guardians who patrol the darkness, not police in uniform, but towering whirling figures woven entirely from raffia and palm fronds. These are the Zangbeto, the legendary guardians of the night, protectors of both spiritual and moral order in the traditions of the Fon and Ogo peoples. Their very name commands respect, for the Zangbeto are believed to be inhabited by spirits, not human beings, and their appearance signals that the unseen forces of the community are watching. The Zangbeto's form is striking. Imagine a cone-shaped tower, often over 2 meters tall, covered in layers of dyed raffia that sway and ripple with every movement. The colors are earthy, deep browns, golden yellows, sometimes bright purples or reds for ceremonial occasions. When they spin, and they do so at incredible speed, the raffia becomes a blur, concealing completely whatever is inside. To the uninitiated, there is no person there at all. Tradition holds that the Zangbeto is animated solely by non-human spirits summoned through ritual. The spinning is not random. It is a display of power, a spiritual act that can drive away malevolent forces and cleanse the space of impurity. Historically, the Zangbeto served as the enforcers of community law before colonial authorities imposed foreign systems. They would patrol villages at night, ensuring that no theft, violence, or dishonor took place under their watch. It is said they could uncover hidden crimes, stolen goods, lies, and even witchcraft through their supernatural insight. When they confronted wrongdoing, their judgments carried deep weight. Disobeying the verdict of the Zangbeto was considered more dangerous than breaking the law of kings. The process of becoming a Zangbeto guardian is shrouded in secrecy. Initiation into the Zangbeto society involves a strict code of conduct, training in sacred chants, and mastery of the spiritual rites needed to house the spirit. Outsiders are forbidden from witnessing these preparations, and even within the community, only select members know the full extent of the rituals. The transformation from man to spirit host happens in hidden spaces, far from public eyes, often accompanied by drumming, chants, and offerings to ancestral forces. In the modern era, the Zangbeto are still active, though the roles have expanded. In some areas, they participate in public festivals, spinning and gliding across open spaces while drums thunder in complex layered rhythms. The crowd cheers, children squeal in awe, and elders nod in reverence. Yet the heart of their work remains away from the stage. In the quiet of the night, when they still serve as protectors and spiritual enforcers. The Zangbeto's presence reassures the community that even in darkness, the ancestors have not abandoned them. To witness a Zangbeto is to feel the weight of an ancient covenant between the living and the spiritual guardians of the land. It is to watch a figure that is neither entirely human nor fully otherworldly, but something in between. A moving, breathing reminder that the night belongs not only to shadows, but to protectors who have danced its paths for centuries. Across southern Africa, when the skies have been dry too long and the earth begins to crack, there are those who do not simply wait for the weather to change. They call the rains. Among the Zulu, Tswana, and Shona peoples, rainmaking is not merely a plea for water, it is a sacred negotiation between the human community and the cosmic forces that govern the elements. These ceremonies have been practiced for centuries, woven into the agricultural rhythms of the land and deeply tied to the belief that rain is a blessing sent by ancestral spirits and sky deities in response to human harmony with the spiritual order. The setting of a rainmaking ceremony is as symbolic as the act itself. Among the Zulu, rituals may be held at the base of a sacred mountain or near a river source, places believed to be spiritually charged gateways between worlds. The Tswana often gather on elevated ground where the horizon stretches wide, giving the impression of speaking directly to the sky. The Shona may perform the rites in sacred groves, where old trees stand like silent witnesses to generations of rain colors. In all cases, the chosen site is not random. It is a place where the air feels different, where the spiritual and natural converge. The ceremony begins with offerings, beer brewed from millet or sorghum, the smoke of burning herbs, sometimes the sacrifice of an animal. The scent of these offerings rises upward, a fragrant signal to the ancestors and deities. For the Zulu, the spirit of Unumkubulwani, the goddess of agriculture and rain, is central to the rite. She is called upon with songs that blend reverence and urgency, voices rising and falling like the wind before a storm. Among the Tswana, rainmaking priests, often women, wear beads and skins symbolic of fertility and abundance, dancing in patterns meant to mirror the movement of clouds. For the Shona, the Mondoro, or lion spirits of the land, are invoked through the playing of mbira music, whose soft, cyclical tones are said to carry prayers into the unseen world. The community participates actively, not as spectators, but as partners in the act. Drums beat in steady rhythm, imitating the sound of distant thunder. Children clap and sing. Elders chant invocations passed down for centuries. There is an unspoken understanding that the success of the ritual depends not only on the skill of the rainmakers, but on the collective spiritual alignment of the people. Discord in the village, broken taboos, or neglect of ancestral obligations can block the rain, just as harmony and devotion can call it down. Historically, these ceremonies were vital for survival. In pre-colonial times, a failed rainy season could mean famine, and the rainmakers held a respected, sometimes feared, place in society. Colonial authorities often tried to suppress rainmaking, labeling it as superstition, yet the practice endured in secret. Today, it has seen a revival, not only in rural communities but also as part of cultural heritage festivals, where traditional rainmaking is performed both for spiritual purpose and for the preservation of ancestral wisdom. To stand in the middle of a rainmaking ceremony is to feel nature and spirit entwine. You watch the dancers' feet pound the earth, smell the offerings rising into the air, hear the chants climbing skyward. And sometimes, if the ancestors are willing, the clouds gather, the wind shifts, and the first drops fall. Soft at first, then heavy, drumming on the earth in answer to the call. Among the Hausa people of West Africa, there is a tradition in which the boundary between the human and the spirit worlds dissolves entirely, allowing otherworldly beings to take residence within a person's body. This is the practice of Bori Spirit Possession, a complex spiritual system rooted in pre-Islamic traditions of the region, yet one that has adapted and endured for centuries despite the pressures of religious and political change. To witness a Bori ceremony is to see the human body transformed into a vessel, a living altar through which the unseen speaks, heals, and reveals hidden truths. The heart of the Bori tradition lies in the Iskoki, spirits believed to inhabit the world alongside humans. Some are tied to natural forces like rivers, winds, or the forest. Others are linked to historical figures, ancestors, or even foreign powers encountered over the centuries. Each spirit has its own personality, preferences, and powers. In a possession ceremony, the goal is to invite a specific Iskoki to enter the medium's body so that the spirit can interact with the community directly. The ceremony begins with music, always music. The sound of the goji, a traditional one-stringed fiddle, joins with the sharp rhythms of the kalangu talking drum. The melodies are not random. Each spirit has its own song, a musical signature that calls it forth from the unseen realm. As the music builds, so does the energy. The air becomes heavy with the scent of burning incense, often mixed with herbs chosen for their spiritual potency. Women, who play a central role in Bori practice, begin to sway, their movements deepening into a trance. Then it happens, a sudden change in the medium's body language. The spine straightens or bends sharply. The eyes glaze over or widen unnaturally. The voice shifts in tone and cadence. The spirit has arrived. From this moment, the person is no longer speaking as themselves but as the Iskoki. They may give advice, issue warnings, diagnose illnesses, or accept offerings. The spirit's behavior can be calm and wise, or wild and unpredictable depending on its nature. Some spirits demand certain foods or drink. Others require dance or the recitation of specific phrases. The purpose of Bori possession is not entertainment, but service. It is often sought for healing, whether physical, emotional, or spiritual. In communities where Western medicine was historically inaccessible, the Bori priestesses, called Ina, were vital healers, blending herbal remedies with the guidance of the spirits. Possession was also a tool for divination, revealing hidden causes of misfortune or uncovering secrets that no human could know. Yet, this power comes with risk. Not all spirits are benevolent, and not every possession is harmonious. The medium must have the training and spiritual strength to control the interaction, guiding the spirit without being overwhelmed. This is why Bori initiation is rigorous, involving years of apprenticeship, learning the songs, rituals, and protective measures needed to safely host the spirits. Today, Bori ceremonies still take place in Nigeria, and among Hausa diaspora communities, though often discreetly due to social stigma from dominant religious groups. Still, the rhythm of the drums, the call of the goji, and the moment when a human voice becomes the voice of the unseen remain as compelling and as mysterious as they have for generations. To witness it is to stand before the threshold of two worlds and watch one step fully into the other. High in the cliffs of Mali, in the villages of the Dogon people, death is not simply an end, it is a transition that requires both guidance and celebration. The Dama Funeral Dance is the Dogon's most elaborate and sacred rite for honoring the dead, ensuring that the soul moves safely from the world of the living to the realm of the ancestors. It is a ritual of release, protection, and cosmic balance, performed with such grandeur that it can take years of preparation. The Dogon believe that if the spirit of the deceased is not properly sent off, it may linger among the living, causing misfortune and imbalance in the community. The Dama acts as a spiritual escort, clearing the path for the soul's journey to the afterlife while reaffirming the unity of the village. Unlike ordinary funerals, the Dama is not held immediately after death. Instead, it may take place months or even years later, once the family has gathered enough resources to host the ceremony, and enough time has passed for the community to prepare its sacred masks and costumes. When the Dama begins, the village transforms into a living theater of ancestral memory. Dozens of masked dancers emerge, each mask representing a different spiritual force, animal, or mythical figure. The most iconic is the tall Sirij mask, a narrow plank of wood carved with intricate geometric patterns, towering several meters above the dancer's head. Other masks may depict antelopes, hares, or fantastical beings from Dogon cosmology. Each mask carries a story, a symbolic role in guiding the departed and blessing the living. The dancers move in unison to the deep, resonant beat of drums and the sharp crack of sticks striking the earth. Their steps are precise yet energetic, a blend of discipline and ecstatic release. Dust rises from the ground, swirling in the hot air as the movements grow faster, mirroring the intensity of the spiritual transition taking place. The crowd gathers close, watching with both awe and solemnity, for they know this is not just a spectacle. It is a moment when the veil between worlds is thinnest. The Dama is also a moment of communal reckoning. It is a time when grievances are set aside, when collective participation strengthens the social bonds of the Dogon people. The ritual affirms their cosmic worldview, which places human life within a vast cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, all under the watch of the Nomo, the mythical ancestors who came from the stars to guide humanity. In this way, the Dama is not only a farewell, but also a reaffirmation of cosmic order. Today, the Dama is still practiced, though tourism and outside interest have altered its visibility. While some performances are staged for visitors, the true Dama, the one meant to guide the soul to the ancestors, remains private, shielded from cameras and outsiders. It is here, away from foreign eyes, that the masks take on their full power. The dancers channel the sacred, and the spirit of the departed finds its way home. To witness such a ceremony, even once, is to see the Dogon belief system not as myth, but as a living, breathing reality, moving to the rhythm of drums that have called to the ancestors for centuries. Among the Sera people of Senegal, the passage from childhood to adulthood is not marked by a birthday or a legal document. It is marked by the Ndut Initiation, a sacred rite of passage that transforms boys and girls into full members of the community. The word Ndut means nest, and like a nest, it is a protected space where the young are prepared for the next stage of life. This is not simply a cultural formality. It is a deeply spiritual process that weaves together education, morality, and ancestral connection. The Ndut Initiation has roots that stretch back centuries, long before colonial or Islamic influence reached the Sera heartland. It is guided by Saltigs, the Sera high priests and priestesses who act as spiritual teachers, healers, and custodians of the community's sacred law. These figures hold the responsibility of transmitting knowledge that cannot be found in any written book. The history of the Ser people, the meaning of their symbols, the patterns of the stars, the responsibilities of adulthood, and the laws of Madesinig, the spiritual order that governs their world. The initiation is separated by gender, with boys undergoing a period of seclusion and instruction away from the village, and girls often participating in parallel rites that teach them the roles and responsibilities of womanhood. For the boys, the Ndut nest is a physical structure, a temporary camp built in a sacred area where the initiates live together under the guidance of elders. For several weeks, they are taught discipline, endurance, and the values that will define their role in society. The training includes songs, storytelling, and physical challenges meant to test their courage and unity. Circumcision is a central part of the male initiation, not as a medical procedure, but as a sacred act symbolizing the shedding of childhood and the acceptance of manhood. This moment is approached with ceremony and spiritual preparation, accompanied by prayers to the ancestors and offerings to the Pangul, the Ser ancestral spirits. Girls' rites, while different in form, carry equal weight, focusing on moral strength, fertility, and the sacred role of women as life givers and cultural bearers. Secrecy is vital to Ndut. Outsiders are strictly forbidden from witnessing the core of the ritual, even within the community. Those who have not undergone Ndut are excluded from its deepest teachings. This ensures that the knowledge remains untainted and sacred, passed only to those who are spiritually ready to receive it. The secrecy also reinforces the bond among initiates, a shared trust that lasts for life. When the initiates return from the Ndut camp, they do so with pride and new status. They are welcomed back with dancing, drumming, and celebration, greeted as full adults who now carry the weight of the community's expectations. The return is also a symbolic renewal for the entire village, a reminder that the Ser way of life endures through the next generation. In modern Senegal, Ndut is still practiced, though sometimes blended with Islamic customs. Even so, at its heart, it remains what it has always been, a sacred threshold between worlds where the young step out of the nest, not just as individuals, but as living continuations of their people's spiritual and cultural lineage. To pass through Ndut is to carry the Ser soul forward. Every year in Ile Ife, the spiritual heartland of the Yoruba people in Nigeria, thousands gather for an event unlike any other, the Oke Itase Ifa Festival. This is not merely a cultural gathering or a colorful display for tourists. It is the living pulse of Yoruba spiritual governance, a sacred moment when the future of a people is read in the patterns of divination. At its center is Ifa, the ancient system of knowledge and prophecy revealed by Orunmila, the deity of wisdom, destiny, and foresight. The Oke Itase Festival is the moment when the Babalawos, priests of Ifa, consulted the oracle to declare the spiritual roadmap for the year ahead, a prophecy believed to guide not only individuals but entire nations. The festival takes its name from Oke Itase, the sacred hill in Ile Ife, where Orunmila is said to have revealed the divine wisdom of Ifa to humanity. Yoruba tradition teaches that Ile Ife is the cradle of creation, the place where the world was first formed and where spiritual authority still emanates. To attend Oke Itase is to stand in a place where myth and history overlap, where every stone and every tree carries the memory of countless ceremonies. In the days leading up to the main event, the city comes alive. Drums echo through the streets, market stalls overflow with white garments, the color of spiritual purity. And pilgrims arrive from across Nigeria and the diaspora. Devotees from Cuba, Brazil, Trinidad, the United States, and beyond make the journey, reconnecting with ancestral roots that were carried across the Atlantic centuries ago. The air hums with anticipation, for the prophecy to be revealed is not a casual prediction. It is a message from the divine, one that can influence decisions in governance, agriculture, health, and social conduct for the year to come. On the day of the prophecy, the Babalawos gather before the sacred grove. They carry their Opon Ifa, divination trays, Ikin, sacred palm nuts, and other ritual instruments. The process is meticulous and deeply symbolic. The palm nuts are cast and interpreted according to the Odu Ifa, the vast corpus of verses, stories, and wisdom that form the foundation of Yoruba spiritual law. Each Odu carries guidance, warnings, and moral lessons, often illustrated with parables that tie human behavior to cosmic balance. The Babalawos chant these verses in Yoruba, their voices rising and falling like an incantation, calling the words of Orunmila into the present moment. The atmosphere is charged. Spectators listen intently, some taking notes, others whispering prayers. The announcement of the year's Odu is made with solemnity, for it will shape the rhythm of the months ahead. If the Odu warns of illness, communities may organize healing rites. If it speaks of abundance, people may prepare for harvest. The prophecy serves as a compass, guiding both personal choices and communal priorities. Yet, as public as the festival appears, much remains hidden. The full interpretation of the Odu, its deeper spiritual layers, is often reserved for initiates. Outsiders may hear only a portion of the prophecy, while the most sensitive instructions are kept within the circle of the initiated. This balance between openness and secrecy preserves the sanctity of the Ifa system, ensuring that its wisdom is not misused or diluted. In modern times, Oke Itase has taken on a renewed significance. In a rapidly changing world, it stands as a declaration that Yoruba spirituality is not an artifact of the past, but a living, evolving force. Politicians sometimes attend in search of blessings or legitimacy, while cultural activists see the festival as a statement of resilience against cultural erasure. For the diaspora, it is a bridge back to origins, a chance to walk the same ground as ancestors and hear the same sacred words. To witness Oke Itase is to witness the heartbeat of Yoruba spiritual order. It is to stand in the presence of prophecy where the future is not guessed at, but read from a divine script. And as the drums fade and the crowd disperses, the words of the oracle remain, a reminder that in the Yoruba worldview, destiny is not random. It is written, revealed, and lived year by year under the gaze of Orunmila. Even as the modern world races forward with its cameras, its algorithms, and its hunger to reveal every hidden thing, there remain places where the deepest truths are still guarded. These African rituals, the Egungun's swelling ancestral presence, the Zangbeto's welling night watch, the Rainmaker's sacred dialogue with the sky, the Bori medium's trembling body as a spirit speaks through her, the Dogon Dama's towering masks, the Ser Indoot's protected nest of transformation, and the Oke Itase prophecy that shapes the year. They survive not because they are endlessly performed for public eyes, but because so much of them remains unseen. Secrecy is not an accident in these traditions. It is a shield. It is the difference between a ritual becoming an empty spectacle and remaining a living, breathing exchange between the human and the divine. Once a sacred act is stripped bare for consumption, its power begins to fade. Elders know this, and so they guard what must be guarded. The songs that cannot be recorded, the invocations that cannot be translated, the moments when a person ceases to be themselves and becomes something more. In this way, secrecy is not exclusion, it is protection. It keeps the sacred from being diluted, mocked, or stolen. These rituals endure not because they exist on festival schedules, but because they live in the hearts of those who carry them. They are passed down in whispers around fires, in dances under moonlight, in the disciplined silence of initiation camps, and in the deep trust between teacher and apprentice. They continue because they are lived, not just as history, but as present reality. Even when they are adapted for public performance or shared across the diaspora, the deepest roots remain buried in sacred soil. This is why you can watch an Egungun festival in a crowded street and still feel there is something you are not seeing. This is why you can read the published Oke Itase prophecy and know there are verses left unsaid. The visible is only ever part of the whole. Perhaps that is why they still command such awe. In a time when so much is exposed and explained, the things that are kept mysterious pull at us all the more. They remind us that not everything can be reduced to data, that some truths live beyond words, beyond footage, beyond explanation. They whisper that the sacred still exists, but only for those willing to approach it with respect. As you've heard each of these 7 rituals, you've stepped a little closer to their circle, but never fully inside it. That is by design. These are not doors that swing open for every hand. They are gates that open only when the Spirit allows. Some doors are meant to be knocked on. Others are meant to be guarded forever. So I leave you with this. Which ritual spoke to you most? Which one stirred something in you? Wonder, fear, curiosity, reverence. Comment its name below. Like this video. Share it with those who honor the sacred. And subscribe to History Store, where we bring you the hidden currents of our world's past and present. The stories that are not just told, but kept.